Sean Payton is marching into New Orleans this week. And does that benefit the Saints or the Broncos more with his emotional return? We've got some clips from Sean that we want to play for you. Plus, we're breaking down the Saints. Is it better to face or is their defense worse, or is their offense worse? We're having Brian Baldinger on, and it all starts now. Dear Raiders, thank you for trading away your best offensive player. Signed, Broncos Country. And Broncos Country, we got a lot to talk about on today's DNVR Broncos show, where we are coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge. Of course, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores inside the DNVR, presented by Bet365. And the Broncos are just 48 hours away from kicking off another game. Man, I love Thursday night football. It is the best. Fellas, how we doing today?
Feeling good. It's a good day. Short week, so it makes it easy to forget about Sunday.
Yep.
And that's what I'm focused on, Thursday.
Have you turned the
Zach
page, Henry?
just said that he loves Thursday night football and that it's the best.
Yeah.
I think it's 'cause
That's the
Broncos
worst of
playing.
all the football.
What are you
why is
talking
it the
about?
Thursday night
worst?
football?
I think why is it the worst?
Because they always have bad teams play and they score like 11 points each.
Who played last week?
I can't remember.
Oh, well, you can't. My goodness, because it was not. I believe it was I think there have been really, really good Thursday night football games this year. And you know what,
Wow.
Henry? That's what we're going to get again
Okay.
this week. We're going to get a damn good game because, like Todd said, the Broncos need to turn the page, and they have turned the page already. The Broncos' only real practice of the week this week, and it's not even a real practice, is today. This is typically the players' off day. By the end of today, they'll have their only real practice, which is more of a walkthrough. Tomorrow, they'll have another walkthrough, and then they'll travel. Todd, this has to be like a 100% mental week for guys, right? You're not really doing anything physical that can benefit you.
Yeah, you got to lock in. You got to get your body right. Playing a football game is like being in a car wreck, so it's important to heal up as much as you can before Thursday night. And it's good because you get the most vanilla version of the team that you're going to play. Like, from a defensive perspective, like, they're already on their third-string quarterback. It's a short week for them. They're not going to try to, like, reinvent the wheel. So hopefully it's like their bread and butter and things they do well, and we just hone in on that, and we execute well on Thursday. And we have a good game. Why don't you like Thursday night football?
My goodness.
So as a player, anytime it's prime time, it's better than just a regular Sunday. Like 2 o'clock games are cool, but Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, where you like the only game on and everybody has to watch, like, that's what I love.
I mean, Thursday night football is just the worst football. Like, they're always so bad.
Huh, that's interesting because last week it was the Niners and the Seahawks where there was 60 points scored, 36-24. But Henry says it's bad football that's played. Henry says there's no scoring that's played. Not quite sure Henry knows what he's talking about.
I mean, everybody listening has watched Thursday night football.
And the people that are chiming in the Twitter chat are saying, well, one, shout out to Todd saying best Broncos pod in the nation. We appreciate that. And Ivan saying it was Niners Seahawks. He knows what's up.
Traditionally
Good
garbage.
Not this year. Not
Traditionally,
this year.
though. There's a whole big sample size.
Yeah, but
decade.
Isn't this game played this year, Todd?
Right now.
Okay.
Man, I'm pumped
3
for it.
days.
And from a fan's perspective too, I like primetime games. And the whole nation's watching. And this week, it's not just Broncos Saints. There's a lot extra in this game. It is Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. And we're going to get into that because we talked to Sean about it. We're going to get into that after we talk to Brian Baldinger in just about 10 minutes or so. But before, I want to jump into the Saints. Like we said, we're turning the page quickly, moving on from that loss to the Chargers, looking to get back in the win column. And my question to start this off is, oh, look at that. We got Seth in the Toyota chat saying Thursday Night Football has actually been good this year.
And right above it, Bo Nix versus Spencer Rattler. No PS2 or Chris Olave. Feel the excitement.
Yeah, but that's not about Thursday Night Football.
It's
That's just
about
about
saying
Broncos
that.
Saints.
They didn't plan that. Like,
No, they didn't plan
a
it.
good matchup had everybody been playing.
But I mean, yeah. Sure.
Instead, as they were previewing this Thursday night game, it was Sean Payton as the Bronco on the graphic and Cam Jordan, who has 0 sacks this season, on the Saints graphic. So when you look at this game, as from a Broncos perspective, are you more concerned about the Saints offense with who they have right now? No Derek-Carr, no Chris Olave, or are you more concerned about the Saints defense that just gave up 51 points to the Buccaneers?
I'm not concerned about either.
No.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't prepare because any given Thursday you could be beat, but I'm not concerned about either. But please don't take them lightly, because if we take them lightly, teams will mess around, and if you let them feel like they can play with you, it'll turn into a game when it really shouldn't be. So I'm not nervous, but just come prepared, boys. Let's go in there and just make this a strong, dominating win.
Yeah, I mean the Saints just don't even matter in this game. There's this big blob of vanilla, just whatever. They're not any good. They're not talented. You don't need to change your game plan for them. This week, the only thing there is to be concerned about is the Broncos, and just are they going to play well? Are they not going to play well? But there's nothing concerning about the Saints. This is just a question of are the Broncos a good team? Are they a medium team? Are they a bad team? And if they're medium or good, this should be a win.
100%. I completely agree with you guys. But we aren't the players. If the players are thinking the way that we're thinking and they're not following your directions, Todd, of not taking them seriously, that's really bad. But we're not the players. We're just analyzing this game. And 100% on paper, guys, this should be an easy Broncos win. Right now over at Bet365, this is a coin toss of a game. I think the Broncos opened up as a pick'em. Now they are favored by 1 point. The Broncos should be way better than that in terms of on paper. This is a Saints team that was elite the first 2 weeks of the season. They scored 11 touchdowns the first 2 weeks of the season when the Broncos had a total of 1 touchdown on offense as a team. Then they lost Derek-Carr, and they have completely fallen off. Clint Kubiak, Broncos Country, was saying, man, why didn't we keep him? Why isn't he our offensive coordinator? Why isn't he our head coach? No one said Clint Kubiak's name the past 3 weeks. The Saints team has completely flipped on offense. They've completely fallen off, and understandably so. They don't have their starting quarterback. I totally get that. But in the past 4 weeks, they've scored 12 points, 24 points, 13 points, and 27 points this past week. I believe 0 points in the second half in this past game, and their defense has also fallen off. After giving up 10 points and 19 points in the first 2 weeks of the season, they've now given up 15 points, 26 points, 26 points, and 51 points. I guess if I'm going to answer this question, I would just look at who their best player is right now, and it's Alvin Kamara. And he is a very scary player.
He has 3 injuries, though, right?
Yeah, but I think he's going to play, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just see short week. It's hip, wrist, one other they have listed. I mean, that's a lot you need to go right.
That is. And so if he plays, I'll say the Saints offense only because of him. If he doesn't play, they have no one on offense this week. I mean, it's a big blow. We saw how much of a blow it is for the Broncos to not have Pat Surtain this past week. They lose him. They gave up scores on every single possession in the first half. Now, they got it fixed in the second half, but I think the Chargers also started playing a little different game. But if you're not going to have Pat Surtain for one game, wouldn't it be against a team that's without their starting quarterback, playing a rookie quarterback on his second start on a short week, and then, oh, by the way, on top of all of that, they're missing their star receiver as well.
Yes.
If you had to draw it up,
yes, this is the week that you would want to have. If you had to draw it up, I guess you could say. Yeah, they're not a talented team right now. They have good pieces when everybody's healthy, but as of right now, it's not very. For me, I feel like this is kind of like that Thursday night when we went into Arizona and just completely killed them. It should be that type of game.
Oh,
just because. I mean, the Cardinals had Larry Fitzgerald and
they had Josh Rosen.
If we could exactly, Spencer Rattler, I think is a good comparison for Josh Rosen. If we could stop Larry, then the game's over. If we can stop Alvin Kamara, then the game is like over. I think this is a great week for the Broncos to have a good win.
Yeah,
Man, I love that comparison.
Yeah, it would be a great week for that. I'm in a scared state after what we watched on Sunday, and while it would be awesome to see them go do that because I think that they should and they can, there's also a chance that they don't. And if we leave Thursday night saying like, yeah, well, Spencer Rattler outplayed Bo Nix, then we're in like a nightmare scenario in my mind. And I'm just, after watching Sunday's game, I'm a little bit panicked about this one.
Henry, I think that's totally fair, but I also think that what you just said plays perfectly into what Todd said. If the Broncos win out and lost to the Cardinals on that Thursday night game, especially with how bad the Cardinals were, especially with Vaughn coming out and saying, we're going to beat their ass, and putting it all out on the line, the Broncos would have been in absolute shambles. I mean, Todd, from a locker room perspective, would the locker room just have lost all faith in the team if you guys would have gone out and lost that game?
I think it would have been bad, especially with like the importance that was put on that game. Because I think we came off a pretty bad game the week before. So there was a lot of importance put on that game. And so if we would have came out there and like wet the bed, it would have been bad, I think, for the rest of the year.
And not that we're gonna hear Bo Nix come out and say we're gonna beat their ass today. I don't think so. I don't know if Courtland's gonna come out and say that. I don't know if anyone's gonna come out and say that. But if the Broncos go out and lose this game, I mean, it is panic time. But I'm confident that the Broncos aren't going to do that. I'm very bullish that the Broncos are still going to make the playoffs because the Broncos had one really bad game. They were on a 3-game win streak.
We can't say that.
What?
We can't say that.
No, in the past 4 games, the Broncos, they're coming off one bad game.
No, I can't say that either.
Really? So a 3-game win streak.
I love you. But, that Jets game wasn't a good game.
No.
We got lucky.
They won.
They did win.
But you can't say a win is a good game.
The defense was great.
Defense was great.
That's half the team.
So it's half a good game.
Okay.
So half a good is okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Bo did what he needed to do. He was better than Aaron Rodgers. Which
boy.
I mean, talk about disarray. The Jets are absolutely falling apart right now. After that loss, they're making an emergency trade for Javonte Adams.
I feel like, yeah, they might have something.
No.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, they are falling apart. They're grasping at straws. Maybe we can ask our friend Brian Baldinger, and let's talk to Brian Baldinger after I give a shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. Our friends over at Empire Today are the best in the business. And here's the thing, because they're so good, they've got a lot of copycat competitors out there that try to copy what they do, but they're simply not going to do as good of a job as Empire does. They've got the best value. They've also got just the best products. They've got the best customer service. They also have a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how your new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how your new floors will look in your room. It's really cool. Shopping for floors at big box stores can be frustrating. That is not the case over at Empire Today. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. Again, that's empiretoday.com/DNVR for details to get that $350 discount.
And shout out to our friends over at Z Biotics. Z Biotics will help you feel much better after a night of drinking because it's a drink that you take before you even start to make sure that you're feeling great the next day. So Z Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And this is how it works. When you drink alcohol, gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Is this byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for your rough next day? Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Just remember to make Z Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. And if you want to get in on Z Biotics, go to zbiotics.com/DNVR Broncos to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use the code DNVR Broncos at checkup. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. I don't even know why you have to it's not even taking a chance. It's 100% guaranteed.
Wow.
If you don't like it, I can't 100% guarantee the Broncos are going to win, but I can guarantee that you can get your money back if you don't like your Z-Biotics. So head to zbiotics.com.
Man, and shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 to get the offers over there. Man, I can't 100% guarantee the Broncos are going to win this game, but I am 95% confident they're going to win this game. The 5%, the only 5% that concerns me is non-football related, which we will get to after talking to Brian Baldinger here in just a second. But instead of going back and forth over what were the Broncos playing well these past 3 games, the Broncos are making the playoffs this year. I'm very bullish on that. I will say that. Henry's giving me crazy looks right now. If they lose this game, that will be in shambles. And Broncos Country will be in shambles. And this will be a very tough place to be, especially then you have a long week. It's great to have the short week to get rid of last week's Chargers game.
Yep.
But then if you lose on a short week, that means you have an extra long week to just sit and sulk, especially because it's Spencer Rattler. It's a backup wide receiver. It's a defense that just gave up 51 points. So there's some games that are big in terms of like must wins because you actually must win that game. There's some games that are big because if you beat the Chiefs, man, it means you're competing for the AFC West. And then there's some games that like you can't lose. These next 2 games are can't lose games for the Broncos. It's away to the Saints who are in shambles right now and then home to the Panthers. Guys, these could arguably be the 2 easiest games on the Broncos schedule.
They are. I think without a doubt they are the 2 easiest games left on the schedule. And that's my biggest thing with must-win games is like, if there's any way that it looks like you should win the game, you got to find a way to win the game. Like you said, a young quarterback making his second start, a team just gave up 51 points. Like, it's a very winnable game. So let's go out and win it. Because if you don't win this one, I think that, you start thinking about Lamar Jackson that you got to play and Patrick Mahomes that you got to play and Joe Burrow towards the end. Like, you start thinking about all the games that have real potential to lose as just losses. Because if we can't beat Spencer Rattler and the Saints, I don't know who we can beat.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a short week on the road, and like it's also the Drew Brees Hall of Fame night
week too, though.
Definitely.
Drew is getting Hall of Fame, but he's not throwing the ball.
He's not throwing the ball, but also like when you see all the Broncos show up wearing let's see, who was wearing jersey? Bo Nix had like the Elway jersey, and who else had one? There was another guy who had one. Like they were just the good vibes. You bring the Orange Crush. Yeah, that's right. You bring like the Orange Crush defense back, and it's just, I don't know. It's gonna be kind of an emotional night there, and the Saints also probably look at this game as one that, it's one of their 2 or 3 easiest games left on the schedule too.
If Spencer Rattler wearing an Archie Manning jersey,
I'd imagine it'd be Breeze,
is what takes them over the top. Oh boy, again, I'll be in shambles. I think Broncos Country will be in shambles if that's what takes them over the top. I just heard our guy Brian Baldinger call in, so let's jump out and talk to our friend Baldy as we're pulling him up here. Got so many questions to ask Baldy here, and we might actually need a second before we get Baldy on. But this is a huge one right now, and we got in the Twitter chat. Steph is asking, is Surtain out? Yeah, I imagine he's going to be out, just like Olave. They're both dealing with concussions. Okay, so we got our guy Baldy. Baldy, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, fellas. We're just kind of digesting Week 6 here. Javonte Adams trade to the Jets, and kind of looking ahead, see what these matchups look like this week.
We're looking ahead, a short week for the Broncos, playing on Thursday night against the Saints, and we're just kind of debating, Baldy, is this, without like diving into all 17 games the Broncos play, is this one of the Broncos' easiest games of the season? Not just because it's the Saints, but backup quarterback, no Chris Olave, and really a Saints team that has been on the downward after a really hot start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer wasn't terrible last week. He made a couple plays. He this kid Bub Means, a rookie. They were both 2 fifth-round picks. They scored a touchdown, made a couple plays together, got the ball down the field to his tight end a little bit. They've got speed. Look, Rashid Shaheed and Mike Tipton can run as fast as any 2 wide receivers in this league. So they constantly try to get the ball down the field to these guys. Even if Derek-Carr was in there, they keep trying to do it. They haven't had a lot of success. They've had 2 games this year where they didn't score a touchdown. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown against the Eagles. So they've struggled, and they've struggled defensively. I mean, Tampa did even with Baker throwing interceptions last week off tip balls, I mean, they did whatever they wanted to do. I mean, they ran the ball against them as well as I've seen anybody run the ball against New Orleans. And then the receivers basically were open all day. I mean, they scored 50. They could have scored more, I think.
I think that's probably the most exciting part for Broncos fans is that they just gave up 51 points, and the Saints are giving up almost 400 yards per game. Surely the Broncos offense will look better this week, right?
Well, I hope they don't fall behind, 20-0 at the half.
Yeah.
Like last week where they just couldn't get anything. And then, once that happens, when Bo Nix is your leading rusher, it's not going to be a good sign, period. It means he's scrambling and doing all the stuff they had to do last week. But you just can't, the Chargers had a good game plan. They ran the ball. They made a couple of plays. I'm sure they didn't know who Kamani Vidal was until he scored a touchdown against them. But, it hurt losing Surtain so early in that game. And, you'd love to put him on Shaheed this week, if he was available. I don't know if he is or not. But, look, it kind of fell apart pretty early. And it just seemed like they were trying to play catch up, and they could never really put anything together last week. I would think that would be just a get back and a get right game this week on a short week. Probably pretty easy to flush it and get ready for a Saints team. Outside of the first 2 weeks of the season, hasn't looked good in any game since.
Baldy, as we talk about this offense, I think they live and die with the offensive line and how they play. Last week, I felt like that wasn't the offensive line that I was used to seeing, and even some of their bigger stars were giving up plays. Saw Garrett Bowles get beat off the edge, Quinn Miners with the holding penalty that cost them 49 yards to Courtland Sutton. What was the problem with the O-line last week?
I don't want to put it on one guy. But Alex Forsythe, I don't know what he is. Honestly, he's on the roster. He started, but he's not very good. And so I said it in preseason. I said it this summer. When your center is weak, you're going to have a lot of problems, and it's not a strength. And they've got some good defensive tackles with the Chargers. Everybody has them. Everybody's 4 deep, and I thought they really struggled. I thought Quinn struggled for a little bit. I think losing Palcho hurt. So they're down in ranks right now, and so you're down into your the depth. But the center position, you look at the Saints. They lost Eric McCoy in the first series of the third game against the Eagles. And their offense hasn't looked the same since. They had to move their starting guard to center. They weakened 2 positions. They haven't been the same. They were number 1 offensive football first 2 weeks of the season. They lose their starting center and their starting right guard, and they've completely collapsed offensively.
And Baldy, you've been telling us you're only as good as your center is going to be, and that's proved the case for the Broncos. Now, when it comes to Bo Nix, maybe the most concerning thing I've seen from him his rookie season was this past week. He turned his back to the defense just a concerning number of times. Is that something that we should be concerned about moving forward? And how does that get coached out of him? Because I know that's something that really bothered Sean with Russ last year. So how do we make sure that doesn't continue to happen with Bo?
Well, you got to keep your eyes down the field. You're not making any plays if you're not doing that. As soon as you're either reading the rush or trying to avoid the rush, and that's where your eyes go, first of all, the defense is reading that. And they're all looking at it. And they're all looking at it in the film rooms. And as soon as they see that, they're like, okay, all these things we could do to a quarterback who's going to drop his eyes. You have to train. You just have to do it. It would be an instinct to turn your back or to drop your eyes to read the rush. But you're not going to survive in this league, and you're not going to make any plays in this league doing it. I don't care what the name on the back of the jersey is.
Play calling from Sean Payton. I'm not sure that I would put the blame right there. It seems like there are a lot of other problems that make it kind of tough to call plays that are going to work. I'm curious what you think, though. Do you think that Sean has called these games the way that he should?
I think he's trying to win the game, obviously. but the flow of the game, like for example the Jets game, in the rain conditions, it's a field goal game. They got the running game going in the second half. It was the difference in the game. They got one big drive there. You got the touchdown to Courtland. I mean, I think he coached that game because of the way they did against the Jets defense, which is very good, and the conditions. So I think it's week to week, but I think it's a lot to ask. We've seen this early in the season. It's a lot to ask this quarterback and this offense to play from behind like as much as it was last week, 20-0, 23-0. I think it's just hard to play from behind and how to do that. They completely got away from the run game. It wasn't very good. I mean, he'd like to be able to stay with that a lot longer than what he had to last week.
Baldy, we keep talking about it. This Saints team gave up 51 points last week. I don't know if the Broncos can put up 51 points, but is there like a minimum number of points that we should be happy with as Broncos fans for them to put up? Like if they score 14 points, I feel like I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, like there's some guys that are just invisible on this defense. I mean, Sean knows, he knows Cam Jordan and he knows, Demario Davis. I mean, he knows a lot. He knows Marshawn. He drafted Marshawn. He knows a lot of these guys. He knows they play a ton of man coverage. But if you watch that game last week against the Bucs, Cam Jordan did get an interception, so I don't want to say he was invisible. He intercepted a tip ball at the line of scrimmage. But, I mean, Demario Davis led that team in tackles probably every year that he's been there. And he was invisible last week. Their man coverage, I mean, I would go after Paulson and Debo. He's their left corner as often as I could. He's not a bad corner, and he'll make some plays. He'll also have probably, I don't look this stuff up, but he probably has as many defensive pass interference penalties as any corner in this league right now. And so whether it's Sutton or, Mims or somebody, I mean, I'd work that guy as much as I could.
Talking about cornerbacks, Broncos likely not going to have Pat Surtain, who's in the concussion protocol this week, especially going up against this Saints team. How concerning is it to not have Pat, or is it not that big of a deal when you're facing a team without their top receiver and without their starting quarterback?
I mean, I wouldn't take any of it lightly. I mean, Spencer Rattler, look, he made some plays in the game. It looks like him and the rookie Means looks like they've got a little connection right there. I wouldn't take anybody lightly in this business. Kamara, I mean, Sean Payton will, I'm sure, in whatever chats he has this week about his Saints. I mean, I don't know how much I don't know how much he's going to go into the guys that he helped draft and Lattimore and Kamara. I mean, that draft with those guys turned the entire Saints team around. They were 7-10 3 years in a row, and drafted, Ramczyk and Kamara and Marshawn, and like they turned around and won the division 3 years in a row. So he knows those guys. He knows what they're capable of doing. Kamara is still a great player, and so I mean, I wouldn't take anybody lightly on that offense right now and what they might be able to do. I think Clint Kubiak is a talented coordinator, and he showed it when they were fully healthy the first 2 weeks of the season. They were the ones that were putting up 40 a game the first 2 weeks when they were fully healthy.
The Broncos defense struggled last week. Obviously, I mean, the Chargers scored the first 23 points of the game. Do you think that that's just because Pat wasn't playing, or are there kind of some underlying problems that maybe are coming to a head?
Well, I mean, look, the Chargers got both starting tackles back. So they got Alt and they got Slater back. That makes a difference. And then it strengthened the right guard position because the right guard was playing right tackle. So they got their starting line together. Then they put this kid, Scott Matlock, in there. Like, he's their Patrick Ricard of the Ravens. And he's a great blocker at 315 pounds. And so, look, they carved out things in the run game. They protected really well. And so the things that we had seen the Broncos do, whether it was just, it's not like J.K. Dobbins destroyed them. I mean, he averaged 3.9 yards a carry. They were still stout in the way that they had played defense. They just didn't make any of the splash plays. And, that's hardball. That's the hardball effect right there. Like, you're not going to turn the ball over, and we're going to play a pretty conservative brand. Although they had a couple splash plays to McConkey and to Vidal. I didn't think the defense played terrible. It's just they were bad on third downs, and they converted a lot of third downs. They stayed on the field. And I thought that was their misgiving. Now, was that because Patrick wasn't in there? I'm sure when you lose a star player like that, it does take you're up to your, McMillan's going to play the outside corner, whatever. I'm sure it weakens you a little bit, but I wouldn't use that as any kind of an excuse why they were off a little bit of what we've seen in the 3 previous weeks.
Baldy, real quick, I want to get your opinion going back to the offense. I know that Sean in the offense is looking for any spark that they can. He's kind of hinted at like Estime getting more of a shot. Do you feel like he's the spot or the spark that they're looking for?
I'm sure that he wasn't real happy with Javonte's fumble last week. That was a pretty critical play. So, when that happens, it's not like he drafted Javonte. I know he probably respects him and thinks he's a good back. But when you lay the ball on the ground and you've got a rookie quarterback, it might get Estime. Estime's first carry, he fumbled also. But I'm sure he's looking for whatever he has. You saw Ville out there. He led the team in receptions. I'm sure he's got no problem going to the rookies. In fact, it looked like an all-rookie show for a little while there with Estime out there and Ville. And, so I'm sure he's like, I don't care if they're rookies. I'm going to play these guys. Some coaches believe that, look, I'm going to play these rookies, and they might make mistakes early. But if they're the right guys and we coach them up right, they're going to help us win games later on. So, we got to kind of wait and see. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him get more carries this week.
For you. Yes, this is Broncos Saints, but the reason this is on prime time is this is Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. You were just in New Orleans for their past game. How emotional, how big of a game is this for Sean, and just how tough could it be for him to play a game with all the emotions surrounding this game, or to coach a game with all the emotions surrounding it?
Well, all the guys, that he was there with Mickey Loomis and, the PR staff and medical staff, they're all there. And you coach in New Orleans, it's a tight-knit group, and it always was. I don't know if Sean is at the stage of his career right now where he just ignores all that till after the game. I've seen Sean down the field before the game mingle a little bit. It's not often. So I don't think he's going to get caught up in it. I just don't. Him and Mickey are going to be friends for a long time. They won a Super Bowl together. I'm sure Alvin Kamara and some of those guys, Marshawn Lattimore, respect Sean a great deal. I'm sure they're going to be looking for him. But, Sean's going there to win this game on a Thursday night. They got to get that terrible taste from Sunday out. I think he has to set the tone for this whole thing. I think he has to go, I'm not getting caught up in friendships and going to see some guys and being back in New Orleans and, enjoying the fans. I'm sure he's going to get a good response. All that. I just think it'd be better for Sean if he just ignored all of it and just treated it like another game.
Baldy, love it. Thank you so much for your insight. Yep. You always get a great response from our listeners and from us. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Yeah, you're all right, guys. Good luck on Thursday, man. I'll talk to you.
Let's do it. All right, man. Okay, I'm curious if Baldy made you guys feel better or worse about this game, and let's break it down and get into Sean Payton's return after I give a shout-out to our friends over at Circle K, where over at Circle K, you got to have the Inner Circle app. Look, everyone's going to gas stations, whether it's to fill up or if you have an electric car, you're going to be getting snacks occasionally, whether it's road trips or whether that's where you get your snacks is at gas stations, and you got to have the Inner Circle app because it's a free membership. All you have to do is download the app, which is very easy. You already have probably 50 apps on your phone. Get this one as well. Enter your email and phone number to be fully enrolled, and after that, all you need is your phone number to get the deals. It literally asks you when you're filling up. Type in your phone number. You type it in, boom, you're going to get 25 cents off per gallon on your next 5 fill-ups. That's all you have to do. Plus, there's deals every day on food, drinks, and more. And sometimes they're giving out just free soft drinks for an entire month. Or they call them, what do they call them? Polar Pops, thank you, yes. And, of course, the 25 cents off per gallon. So make sure to download the Inner K Circle app over at Circle K. New offers, purchase clubs, and sweepstakes are uploaded weekly.
And head over to Game Time. They've got all the tickets you could look for, including tonight. The Nuggets have a preseason game against the Thunder. It's only $6 to get in. And I'm looking really quick. I think you can get in a lower level for $24. Can also sit in the first row behind the Nuggets bench. Oh no, this is that little spot in between, like that court side between the Nuggets bench and like the scorers table. Only $773. So if you really want to see some preseason basketball action, you got an extra $773 to spend. There you go.
So anywhere from $7 to $773.
$6. Well, actually up to $22.38 if you're trying to get like prime courtside middle. Game Time's awesome. It's where we go for all our tickets. And if you use the code DNVR, you can get $20 off your first purchase. They have the new picks feature, so they'll show you the best deals, tell you kind of where those deals rank, and check it out. Because like I said, use the code DNVR for $20 off, because what time is it?
Game time.
Yeah.
And shout out presenting sponsor Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. You guys ready to get emotional?
No, I don't do much of that.
No? Yeah.
Do you cry?
No.
Are you a crier?
No.
Am I? No.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
when I
really
wax
crying
my
either.
chest.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So this is the only part of the game that I'm concerned about. And I was happy to hear Baldy say that he doesn't think this is going to impact Sean. And I would typically say that coaches and players would do a good job separating their emotions from the game, from the environment that they're in. But we saw it firsthand, guys, 11 years ago when the great Peyton Manning, who I think is about as mentally as tough as anyone in this world, he went back to Indianapolis for the first time, where he played, 12 years with that organization, what is their most important person in franchise history. He means everything to that team, and you know that they mean a lot to him as well. He went there, and they played a video tribute a minute before the game started, and it was a minute long, and it got you in your feels. And then when the video ends, you're like, okay, it's time to move on. No. Then they give him a standing ovation, the entire crowd. They have all the signs saying, we love you. You mean everything to us. Yeah. We miss you so much. Even though they have Andrew Luck, it's a standing ovation. Peyton's on the field, the helmet off, waving to the crowd, and you could see how much it meant to him. And then after the game, the Broncos lose, by the way. The Broncos were 6-0 going into that game and lose that game. And Peyton admits, yeah, that impacted me in the game. That got me going. And that makes me think, if you can get to Peyton, you can get to Sean Payton as well. So I am worried about this. Am I crazy? Am I going too far with this?
No, I think there's going to be a lot of emotions surrounding the game. I never played anywhere for 12 years, so whenever I went back and had a revenge games, my emotions were like, I want to show you what you're missing. You know what I'm saying? I want to win just to show you guys you should have kept me. So I don't know if that's what Sean's thinking or what his mentality is, but there's definitely going to be a lot of emotion in that game.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like Peyton, though, just because there are a lot of Saints fans who are still pissed off that Sean left. Because it's different because Peyton was forced out. Like, it wasn't his choice to leave. And whenever it's your choice to leave, like, they kind of felt left out to dry. So I don't think it's going to be quite the same reaction. I mean, he said that, too. I mean, he said... I can't remember the exact quote. I think we're going to get to it eventually, but I'm curious to see what exactly it looks like. Hopefully they give Sean the respect he deserves, but they might boo him, and if they boo him, then that might get to him.
Oh, no. I hope they don't give him the respect he deserves.
No?
I hope they boo him. I hope they don't play a video tribute for him. Don't get him in this field. Piss him off. But no, they're going to do that 100%. In fact... Sean, when we had a conference call with him yesterday, was asked, like, hey, have you thought about what the moment could be like? And then was actually asked about the Peyton Manning situation. He said, or he was asked, look, they played a video for Peyton when he went back to Indianapolis right before the game started, and Peyton admitted it threw him off. And this was Sean's response to that Peyton Manning question that was asked to him.
Sean, I asked this just on a sort of a, your game day mode level, but when Manning went back to Indy for the first time, they waited until the teams were back out on the field and then played a tribute video to him right before kickoff. And he said later it was kind of an emotional, odd feeling for him. And I guess I'm just curious, have you thought about how you would handle any of those things pregame or halftime or whatever?
I think that's pretty clever by Indy. I mean, in other words, I'm usually, I don't know, I'd say kind of wound up pregame and ready to go. And so, look, I think obviously for a player it's different, but for me, I think this, first off, the evening's about the game. And then secondly, Breeze is getting honored at halftime. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of flowers and warm fuzzies for yours truly. And I get it. So, but it's a good question. And that's, I think that, listen, I can't stand losing. And so it's about our team and me as the head coach of the Broncos, getting ready to play on an early week and try to play one of our better games.
If I hear that answer and I'm the Saints, I am dialing up the most emotional tribute video that I could do and playing it right before the game starts. And I really wish we could play the Peyton Manning clip, but we can't because it's NFL broadcasting rights and stuff. But after they play that tribute video, there is no way that a person can just ignore the video if it's about you and then ignore the crowd when they stand up and give you the standing ovation. There's no way. And it clearly, you could tell it impacted Peyton. And then he admitted it after the game. Man, I am dialing up the most emotional video to just get Sean in his feels right before the game.
But I wonder, how would it affect Sean, though? Because he's not technically playing.
Yeah.
So would he, forget to call a timeout in 2 minutes or leave his challenge flag in the locker room? I don't know. I feel like he should be good because hopefully he can just.
He's calling plays though.
Well, the first 15 plays are scripted though.
Yes.
But not fully. You still
Basically.
are adjusting on the fly a tiny bit.
Be so emotional, crying, he can't see his call sheet.
Yeah.
Well, we know he admitted last year that he misread one of his calls. So yeah, maybe that does happen.
Maybe that would be kind of crazy.
And then he admits it after the fact. Yep, that's a home field advantage there.
Yeah.
Now, Sean did elaborate on his return to New Orleans just in general, and I want to play that clip after I give a shout out to our friends over at Raising Cane's. You guys know we love Raising Cane's, and it is the absolute best that you can get out there. And of course, their chicken fingers are delicious, and you can't go wrong with the Texas toast, and you definitely can't go wrong with the coleslaw. And why don't you just combine them all together for the best sandwich out there? You put that cane sauce on there. Oh my goodness. You can even throw some fries on top as well. And the best thing about Raising Cane's as well is you can order ahead. Raising Cane's is so good that typically it's unbelievably popular, and there's a line out the door and then a line to the street. If you're in the drive-thru, order ahead so you can skip that line, download their app, or go online to mobile order for cook-to-order hand-battered chicken fingers. Race into Raising Cane's turbocharger chicken fingers and get them even faster by ordering online at raisingcanes.com or through their mobile app. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
And check out Bet365. They've got a bunch of different offers. We don't talk about their Thursday night football offer very often, but since the Broncos are playing this week, might as well. If you place qualifying parlay bets, I think they've got to be at least 3 legs on the game that night, and they are worth $20 or more total, so you can make different combinations. Then I think you get $5 in bonus bets for every touchdown that's scored. If you do $50 in parlays, you get $10 in bonus bets for every touchdown that's scored in the game. It's one of the awesome offers they have, and there are plenty. Like their sign-up bonus, which is that if you use the code DNVR365 when you sign up, deposit $10, you get to choose between either a bet and get offer, we place about $5 or more, get $200 in bonus bets, or there's a first bet safety net offer where you place a bet up to $1,000. If the qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out Bet365 for being the presenting sponsor of our show. Really quick, before we get into this next audio, Todd, what are we going with for thumbs up today? What does that equate in the game on Thursday? Because you guys need to hit us with a thumbs up. Not nearly enough thumbs up, especially for having Baldy on.
Come on, people. Let's go with estimate rushing yards.
Oh,
Because it may be a breakout day for Audric Estime. I love the way Baldy pronounces Estime. I love it. I love it.
It's we've got a couple of people around here that pronounce his name wrong.
Because who knows? We could be wrong. Like our guy, Bidet.
But the thing is, we were saying it right.
Well, I guess not.
He changed it.
Hey.
Oh man, the Broncos could use a bidet right now to just scrub
To clean that out?
to scrub Saturday or Sunday's game away. But they could also use bidet as a running back. Henry, you got to watch your head. Someone in the Toyota chat said if the Broncos beat the Saints, but then lose to the Panthers, they're going to headbutt you.
Wow. I wonder why that is.
Very random. I don't know.
I am excited for next week because you called that Panthers game a lock.
Yep, I did.
So
Broncos are gonna be 5-3 in 12 days.
I 100% hope you're right.
They will though. So you're saying hope. I'm saying will.
Okay.
I've got confidence in this team. I said if they beat the Chargers, they were going to be 6-3. They lost to the Chargers, so they're going to be 5-3. No, 6-2. So now they're going to be 5-3. Since they weren't able to get that dub against the Chargers. Okay, so one more clip from Sean. Let's get to this. He was just asked about what it's going to be like if his return to New Orleans is going to be emotional.
Yeah, look, it will be unique. I think this, one of the things we talk about with our players is, man, trying to handle all the stuff ahead of time. And, I've got a great wife whose tickets are done with, family, my children. I think those around us know, like, how challenging the short week is as compared to if it was a full week. And yeah, certainly there'll be emotions going back there with players. But I do think that comes up quite a bit, in our league with players. And in this case, certainly the amount of time that I was there, I understand it. Look, we have to deal with the crowd noise. That place is loud, and you guys know that. And so I guess I would say, fortunately, it's a short week because I haven't had, a lot of chance to dive into all the other stuff. I mean, Drew's going into their Hall of Fame. Now, they also have a Ring of Honor, so that's a separate event. And, and soon the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And so, I've already reached out to him and congratulated him and said, hey, look, this is the first of, many. But I think still it's about, and I say this, man, it's about the game. It's about the win, the significance of us playing our best football on a short week. And it's about our team. And I'll address that with them tomorrow morning. Hey, let's understand, the significance of getting our fourth win. I think that's the number one thing, and then go from there.
Okay, so Sean admitted there's going to be emotions. I have referenced a Peyton Manning one of playing the clip right before the game. I think that's probably what will happen. But Henry, when we were talking about this off to the side yesterday, you brought up an interesting point. What if they don't do a video tribute before the game? They save it for a different part of the game.
I mean, it would make sense since you script the first 15 plays. Like, if you're trying to get in his head, then you wouldn't do it when he's not really doing anything anyway. At the same time, though, he just doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to get got by something like that. Like, he's just not...
So you're saying Peyton Manning is a guy who seems like he'd get got by something like that?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, more so than Sean. Like, if you were just to say, like, who gives off more, like, feelings and emotions... And it's nothing against Sean, but he just isn't a guy who does that as much as Peyton. Not that, like, Peyton's overly emotional, but I just think there's a little bit of a gap there.
I feel like...
You know both of them, Todd.
Yes, I know both of them, but I feel like Sean's and Peyton are different people. So I think what would piss Sean off more is that they didn't give him a tribute.
Yeah.
I think he was like, after all I've done for the city, you're not going to even give me a video? Like, I think that would do more emotional damage than actually playing, like, homage to him.
Yes.
So then... Do you want emotional damage for Sean if you're the Saints, or do you want him in his feelings?
They probably just want to do nothing. Just act like he's not even
Exactly.
in the
But just and Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Yep, just sort of like that. Man, I said this earlier, and it kind of caught Henry by surprise, I think. Todd, I'm curious where you stand with this. I think there's a very strong argument to be made that Sean Payton means more to the New Orleans Saints than Peyton Manning means to the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think they're very, very similar, but he did bring him a Super Bowl right after Katrina. Like, it was a very emotional time for the city. Like,
Yep.
he does mean a lot to that team. Nobody more than Drew Brees, but I think he means a lot to the organization.
I think it's those two. I think it's Drew Brees and Sean Payton, by far the most important people in that franchise's history.
Yeah.
Peyton was with the Colts for what, 11 years playing, 12 years that second year, or that year that he was hurt. Sean Payton was their head coach for 15 years. They had never been a consistently good team until Sean got there, and then they were consistently great. Won a Super Bowl, like you said. He immediately turned them around, went from 13-3 to the playoffs, and in fact, the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And then also, I kind of take what Sean Payton leaving the Saints is different because the Colts kicked Peyton Manning out. They said, we're firing you. Sean left the Saints, which I think makes it a little even harder for Saints fans because they're like, no, we don't want you to go. Like, come back. We didn't kick you to the curb like the Saints or like the Colts did with Peyton.
But think about like Carmelo Anthony and Von Miller. Like, it's just a different vibe when somebody like, I'm gone. Or like Nolan and Vaughn.
Yeah, but
like,
Sean didn't force his way out. He just retired.
I mean,
just stepped
I would
away.
say it's kind of the same thing.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Sean Payton leaving is very different than.
I mean, but they're fans who are bitter about it. Like, it's just different when somebody chooses to leave versus like, remember when the Broncos traded Vaughn? I think a lot of people said like, yeah, it's probably smart, but I still hate it. Like, you don't do it to him, and because of that, Vaughn has kind of kept all of his luster because they didn't just they kicked him out. He wanted to be here. He wanted to be a Bronco. Sean did not want to be a Saint anymore. Just like Melo didn't, just like Nolan didn't.
No,
and it just causes
different in that way.
I don't know. Yeah, Duchesne, another one. Ryan O'Reilly.
What do you think, Todd?
I think I have to side just a little bit more with Hank on this one because Sean retired, but he didn't stay retired.
Exactly.
Like, did you really want to leave, or did you was that like a little clause like Marshawn Lynch? Were you retiring to get out of something, or did you? You know what I'm saying? I think that's how they think about it.
There were reports that that Sean wanted to go back to the Saints after his year off. He truly just wanted a year off, and then he wanted to go back to the Saints, and the Saints said, no, we're okay, buddy.
Oh, dang.
We had 15 years. I don't know if those were true or not, but there were reports out there. Yeah, I mean, Sean did put him in cap hell and left.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
And on top of that, he's a coach compared to a quarterback. You know, it's just different. It's like John Elway versus Mike Shanahan. Like they give you different feelings. Just like Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Like, would the fans love Drew more or Sean more? Like, there's plenty of love to go around, but
Both. I think it's those two.
yeah, I just when it comes to Peyton Manning to the Colts, like it's just different.
And I think what's different about it is Sean was also helping like a city recover, not just
Definitely.
a team. It was a team and a city recover, while Peyton obviously helped the Colts recover, and they both mean a ton. I
But
just
also,
think
like-
that Sean means that much to them, and I just don't want to overlook this part of the game because this is the only part of the game that concerns me, is if they're able to just get in Sean's feels a little too much, because I think on paper, Baldy scared me a tiny bit talking about the Saints' speed. Yeah, flashbacks to the Dolphins game last year, but it's not Tyreek Hill. It's not Jalen Waddle. It's not the chemistry with Tua that they had. It's not Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert. They don't have that type of talent. Now, just don't let Kamara beat you. If you're able to focus on him, not let him beat you. And on the injury report, he's just listed with a hand, and he would have been limited yesterday, so I do think he's going to play. So he's the only thing that scares me about this Saints team. He's the only way the Broncos lose outside of just this weird factor, and it's kind of like the weird factor of like an interim head coach game. Like, these teams always just have this bump when they fired their head coach. It's honestly when they should be at their worst and their lowest, and they always just have a little bump outside of the Jets last night. And it's just kind of something you can't put a number on. You can't put your finger on.
Yeah, I like these games. I think there's an element that like not a lot of people talk about. And like if you're a coach or a player, I think it's like the element of trash talk when you come back to the city. So another thing that can kind of get under Sean's skin or make him feel some type of way is like Cam Jordan getting a sack and be like, Sean, like, you know this guy can't block me. Like, Sean, come on, get somebody else in the game. Or Alvin Kamara going for like 15, like, Sean, this defense isn't it, man. You should have stayed with us. Like, all the trash talking, I think, will be a fun aspect of the game, too.
I like that. I like that a lot. One thing, too, is, man, Sean talks about New Orleans every single week when it's with the Denver media. Like, he'll be talking about, oh, yeah, back in New Orleans, we did this. And he thinks about New Orleans a lot. And so that's why I think it's going to play a big factor in this game. Henry, do you think Sean Payton cries?
No. I don't even think he cried when he won the Super Bowl. I think he's told stories about that. He just, again, nothing against Sean, just doesn't seem like a crier.
Do you think Sean cries?
No, I don't see him as a crier. But we don't cry. We're all, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You don't cry. Like even the happiest times of my life, I'll smile, but I won't cry.
Todd, after your 15 years at DNVR and you move on somewhere and you come back, we're going to make you cry. You're going to be so emotional to be back.
I hope it's because you guys are so old and you guys are just getting older by the second. No, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever cry. I don't want to like anybody try to make me cry.
But have you ever cried? I definitely have cried. It's been a long time.
Like maybe like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just happy. Super Bowl, happy.
We're not gonna make you cry.
No need to cry.
I have to start thinking about stuff. But
Yeah. Sean's not a crier.
That's fair. I don't know. We'll see.
No
I
Sean
guess.
though.
No Sean.
the ultimate crier.
Oh man, if Sean Payton cries, we're gonna need a no Sean tier after this game if Bo goes off. All right, we got a super chat to hit. Let's do that and hit us with a thumbs up on your way out. Only 100 or less than 100 rushing yards for Audric Estime this week, I guess is what the likes are telling us. Let's keep those likes coming in and let's hit this super chat from our friend Courtland, who says, people need to chill about Bo and take the long view. If you compare Bo's stats with Josh Allen's rookie year, he's ahead in almost every category. He will develop and get better. Patience is key.
Yeah.
You got to smirk.
No, I mean, you just, at some point, he's got to get good, And realistically, you probably get 2 years to show that you're like the guy. And if you're kind of on the brink, then you get a third year. But again, we're still waiting. We're still in the process of waiting to see when Bo Nix will become a good quarterback.
I think he'll no doubt have 2 or 3 years to develop. I don't think they'll try to force him out before then. And I mean, he is a rookie and it takes time. And I'm not nervous for Bo's like development, but I don't know if he'll get us to the mountaintop in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what everybody wants. So it's just time.
I think, we had the conversation yesterday. Are we panicking about the Broncos offense? All three of us said no, because it is a rookie quarterback. We knew that it was going to take a little bit of time. So I think, Court, it's a good message to Broncos Country. Don't freak out just yet. Now, if we're going to see a breakout game happen, it could be this Thursday night. We talked about how the Saints defense just gave up 51 points. It's insane that Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions and still scored 51 points. Baldy said they could have easily scored more. Yeah, they definitely could have scored more. The Saints have the worst pass defense in the entire NFL. So I'm not expecting a 300-yard game from Bo, but could we expect a solid first half? Maybe 122 passing yards instead of 22? I think that wouldn't be too crazy to see. And maybe Sean gets in his feels in a good way and puts together the best game plan he's ever put together because he knows this Saints team really well. Plus, there's like 50 other guys on this Broncos organization that were part of the Saints. And then also, we talk about how the Broncos are the Denver Saints. It's also kind of the New Orleans Broncos, Joe Woods is their defensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak is their offensive
They wanna win.
coordinator. Their offensive line coach is the Broncos' former offensive line coach. Like, this is a crazy game with how much similarities there is in this game. And we got one more day to break it down. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you all so much for rocking and rolling with us. We'll be back tomorrow, which, crazy enough, is only going to be 24 hours away from game time. Thank you all for tuning in with us. Have a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.